This is not our first daily practice in STAC, but obviously the circumstances are a little different. I chose this photography daily practice because it's a creative engagement that works in our current circumstance. Unfortunately, we can't engage with every discipline in a meaningful way in STAC right now, but photography is one that we can. It's going to allow us to keep our creative skills sharp, but also build our technical skills over a long term. Most importantly, there's community engagement through social media involved in this project. How can we keep our STAC Instagram up and running? How can we keep sharing the great work that we're doing? It all came together in this daily photo practice. How can we improve our photos moving forward? Let's talk about the photo prompts for a second. These are not technical challenges, but instead they're creative challenges. They are meant to be open-ended. Creative interpretations of the language of the prompt and bending the rules are encouraged. I'm not looking to see that you're going to master the techniques of photography in the 3 weeks that you've been home so far, but I am looking to see that you can push beyond that level 0 photo, challenge the prompt, and work outside the box. What do I mean by level 0? A level 0 creative response is one that didn't take any creative effort. It's the first thing you thought of. We've talked about how creativity works along easy pathways, things that you've done before. So if you get the photo prompt, take a photo of something blue. You walk around your house, find a blue object, take 3 pictures, and hit submit. That's level 0, but that's not what we do in STAC. Instead, we dig deeper, and we find a more creative solution to each of these prompts, as so many of you have done in your photos that you've submitted thus far. Here are some examples of photos that I think go well beyond the level 0 photo. Here's TL's photo for the music prompt that we had a few weeks ago. Doesn't it look like music notes on a staff? Depending on what lyrics she had in her song, there may be a deeper interpretation, but right away we can see that she's playing in a very visually interesting space. Here's a great example from Joy from our very first prompt, to take an object and to photograph it in a way that it wouldn't usually be photographed. It's an everyday object, a bottle of hand sanitizer, obviously a potent symbol right now, and by shooting the light coming through it and from that angle, it almost looks threatening and predatory. A deconstruction of hand sanitizer, if you will. Finally, Allison depicts something that's broken here, but it's not something that's physically broken, in the same way that a family can be broken up. I love how she interpreted the prompt here and took the language in a completely different direction. For those of you who took BA's workshop, you know that photography is a visual medium, but also a narrative medium. You tell a story with every photo. We spent the better part of the year talking about narrative and story structure, and we can apply those lessons to our photography practice. We know that stories begin and end in stasis, and that action often breaks that stasis. The same rules apply on a single photograph. What was the stasis? How was it broken? What is the action? Let's take a look at Nicoletta's photo as an example, the one from just yesterday. The puzzle of the world was put together at some point. That was the stasis. The stasis has been interrupted. The puzzle is broken. There are pieces everywhere. Obviously, we're playing with some really potent imagery here, given the context. But you can see that there was an action. It didn't happen in the moment of the photo. We're looking at the aftermath. That's a story. What happens before the event of the photo? What will happen right after? A photograph is a still image, but there's still a timeline of events that we're seeing a small, momentary cross-section of. Michaela's photo is a great example of this. It's got a clear beginning, middle, and end. She jumps, she's midair just momentarily, and then she lands. But perhaps, given her expression and the way she poses herself, she's been floating there just a little longer. A good photograph will often engage the viewer's imagination. What is happening out of the frame, both physically and temporally? What is behind that door? Christian's keyhole photo is a great example of this. What we're seeing is distorted through the peephole. But we know that it's greenery. What is that red bit in the middle? Is it a flower? Is it a car? We can't quite make it out, so our imagination gets to work right away. Even though we see the reflection of the trees in Jordan's photo here, we have to wonder, who's she trying to get to? Who's outside the frame? When we did our lessons on directing, and in STAC art, we often spoke about composition and the elements of composition. At the risk of getting too technical, consider applying some of the elements of composition we've already worked with when composing your photos. Go with your level of comfort and expertise. Do you understand color theory as an artist? Then play with colors. Do you understand how levels and the plane can shape relationships in three-dimensional space? Then play with those elements. Jack's social distancing prompt, where he has 2 Jacks in one photo, is a great example of this. You can see that the 2 Jacks seem estranged from one another, one standing off on one corner of the room, the other comfortable in his bed. We have different levels at play too, one lying down, one standing up. Who's the real Jack? Use your strengths from other content areas to inform your work. This is the most STAC thing that you can do. But here's a simple way that you can find some alternative ways to compose your daily photographs. Consider it a challenge for your next few photos. Change your positioning or the angle from which you shoot. Try getting down on the floor, getting up on a chair, getting further or closer away. If you only take photos from the height and angle of your own face, your photos will be solely limited to that perspective. Different positioning can compose your photos differently, and it can tell a different story. Audrey's boat photo is a great example of this. She got right under this tiny boat, and it gives it the illusion of a much bigger size. One of the most striking photos we've seen in this project so far is Sonia's picture of a reflection of some trees in a puddle. She had to get all the way down on the floor to get that shot, but the effect is striking. You can see the tree branches reflected in the puddle, and they look almost like wings, or perhaps more appropriately right now, like lungs. As you practice these daily photos, the most valuable thing that I can advise is iteration. You're assigned 3 photos per day, but you should be shooting far more than that and submitting the cream of the crop. Just like the daily practice hones our skill over time, iterating on a photo will have the same effect and more. Some days, you'll set out for a shot and get it right away. For the days that you feel stumped, keep your camera handy and wait for something beautiful to come along. If you keep your eyes and your heart open, it usually will. And be open to discovery when you're on a shoot. You may wind up with a shot you didn't expect. Andrew Stanton, the director of WALL-E, says that creative projects are like archaeological digs. Some days, you'll stumble on a T-Rex skeleton, and that's amazing. But maybe, as you dig up more bones, you'll realize that it's not a T-Rex at all. It's Triceratops. Have the courage to keep digging and make a Triceratops, rather than the T-Rex you thought you were there to dig up. Friends, we are living through one of the most historically significant moments in modern memory. We should view it as an opportunity. We have a rare chance to make art that matters in this moment, to document and poetically interpret what we are experiencing. We also have the opportunity to share that work with our community. Consider that on our STAC Instagram, we reach over 200 people every time we share those photos. Those are 200 people that we know, and some we've never met before. It may not be immediately apparent, but every photo we share is helping to strengthen the bonds that tie us together. Bonds that are being strained to the breaking point by social distancing. Our work matters. Take it seriously. Go make something beautiful.